We're going to call to order the meeting of the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission for January 24th, 2023. Roll call vote, please. Roll call, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Ms. Buffet, Ms. McSwain,
Present.
Mr. Parr,
Present.
Ms. Rogers Garner,
Present.
Ms. Jackson, and Ms. Allen.
Present. Thank you.
Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay, I'd like to acknowledge that Ms. Bethea has tendered her resignation to this board. Like to thank her for her service, and we are sad to see her go, but wish her well. We do have in the room one of our new commissioners, Mr. Ben Foster. He'll be joining us officially for our next meeting in February. And I'd also like to welcome Ms. Jocelyn Aduma, the interim planning director. Did I say that correct?
Excellent.
Thank you. And also our new city council liaison, Councilman Mark Hugel. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning. Okay, before you have the minutes of the December 21st, 2022 meeting. Those were sent out to us in our package. If there are no corrections,
Can I have your email?
may I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mr. Parr,
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson is absent, and Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 4-0.
Okay. Now we are on to our quarterly financial report. I see Ms. Phillips is with us along with Ms. Pope.
Good morning. I'm going to take a very high level overview for you. You don't want to get into every dollar, I'm sure, but the cash is $2,093,704. Excuse me. The cash is $952,160 at the Bank of America, and Atlantic Union $105,544. Grants receivable is $1,036,000. You'll see it's down $1 million from the prior year. And I think it's important to point out that for the Wild Duck Lane and 3599 Progress Avenue, each were obligated $500,000, but because they didn't meet, they only were reimbursed a total of $519,000. So while the outlay was $519,000, the obligation that was satisfied was $1 million, if that makes sense. So we received $1 million in terms of reimbursement from the state, and we saw that $519,000 was paid out. So with that, your property at Burton's Point is still valued as it was at June 30. And the grants payable is a contra account to the receivable. We are owed from the state $1,036,000, and we owe out in terms of the grants made of $1,036,000, plus with lineage, the PPIC granted an additional $180,000 grant out of its own funds that has yet to be paid out. We owe the Commonwealth $200,000 for the improvements that made to Burton's Point at 2920 or 3920. Okay, going to the income statement. We've got our industrial revenue bond fees of $5,503 have been received. Our operating expenses about $5,965. And investment income is up substantially because, first of all, the interest rate has gone up $5,419. So the change in net position is $4,957. And I was not, you'll see there's the listing of the grants, pretty small print there. But it just talked about the ones that are still owed out are the 3200 lineage and 3301 shipwright. that $1,036,000. I think that's it. Oh, we've got our budget to actual there. You'll see there's nothing of any note there. But of course, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions? Ms. Farr?
So is the balance not paid out for those two properties where they didn't meet the full $500,000 obligation? When is that due back to the state? Or do we get to retain that?
We didn't receive
I
it.
did receive it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if I could just,
Sure.
hop in to clarify. So we did receive two grants for those community grant applications. They were each awarded in the amount of $500,000 individually. It's a reimbursement grant, so the state only provides the actual expense that the project incurs, which is what we paid out. So the $500,000 really never fully comes in. It's a direct, one-to-one reimbursement.
Any other questions? Thank you, ladies. We are now on to old business. Morning, Chris.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Allen, Councilman Bugle, Deputy City Manager, City Attorney, Mr. Miller, and also Economic Development staff. It's great to be here. Since it's our first meeting of the new, I still have to say Happy New Year. I think it's still Happy New Year to you all. So thank you again. I appreciate being an opportunity to be here in front of y'all. First, it's kind of off script a little bit. I will say, the city of Portsmouth is doing such a great job with those port host locality. And I know, we kind of just glanced over it, but to see the impactful projects that Portsmouth is being able to complete says something to the purpose of that fund. There's only certain communities here in the Commonwealth that qualify for those monies, port host localities. So there's only 5. And Portsmouth's done such a good job. And it's really cool to see projects in the spirit of what those monies were set up to do and support now coming to fruition. Thinking of, Wild Duck Lane and opportunities that presents to the city of Portsmouth is really exciting. And it's something the port obviously supports and has interest to see continue to grow. So just say kudos to the staff.
Thank you.
Calendar year 2022 was really a record year for the Port of Virginia. We experienced record growth, as you would expect. The supply chain has normalized some, but our port, the Port of Virginia, has continued to benefit from years of strong investment, wise investment, and that's really seen and realized right here in Portsmouth at Virginia National Gateway. Really the most modern state-of-the-art terminal, one that is producing day over day sort of record moves and record productivity. So I think that's something that the city's really recognized for and should be proud of. Our volume for calendar year 2022 was up about 5%. So we had 3.7 million TEUs. That's a volume level we as a port had never ever hit. And so really proud and excited to have hit that number. I think also to make mention is that we've seen rail across the board. So, we move freight into the port and then it can leave on a train via rail. It could also go on a barge to one of the ports upriver or out the truck and out the gate. And we've seen obviously the rail business grow. But also we've seen the truck business grow. And the reason that's so important is, when we think of the freight leaving the gates, that's coming right here to cities like Portsmouth and the surrounding region that we call captive freight. And that volume continued to grow. And so we continue to see that growth makes us know that the efforts within the city of Portsmouth and other communities to grow economic development is happening and it's being realized by the volume. Also, another thing that's always interesting is, you would think with record volume growth, you would have more ships calling because, right, more ships equal more volume. But in fact, as we continue to see this trend and something that's great for Virginia, believe it or not, is the vessel calls continue to tick down just a little bit. In fact, we were down, it's about 3%. So we had 1,500 vessels call this port, container ships. But what's happening is they're discharging more containers because they're bigger ships, because we have more productive terminals. We've got the deepest water. And these are all the sort of economics behind shipping that is a trend moving forward. The ships are getting larger. We know that, we see that. Anytime you drive across 164, you see a big ship. There was one there yesterday, and there might be one there this morning. And that's exciting because that's a discharge of 2, 3, 4, 5,000 containers. And if we didn't have our deep water in the most advanced semi-automated container handling facilities like we do in Virginia, we'd be struggling, but we're not. We're actually, the most efficient and really seen as a shining star. So as we kind of obviously all are cautious and watching what the economy is doing and interest rates, as mentioned with the financial update. I mean, these are things that have obviously those immediate impacts, and I think we will see softness as that's a reflection of the economy in the next 6 months. But this port is positioned so well because of the investments we continue to make and have made to really be that rebound. And so as the economy cycles, I think we're really excited for the continued growth and opportunity we'll see here in Virginia, at least in the supply chain, and continue to serve the economy. I'll wrap up my comments just to give a quick update on Portsmouth Marine Terminal. If anyone's driven by there recently, I know you've seen piles of aggregate and activity that you hadn't seen for quite a long time. And that project's well underway. As you may recall, I brought forward, Skanska is doing the improvements on the front side of that terminal for Dominion Energy. It's a 72-acre footprint that we've leased to Dominion. And this project will be for the staging and loadout of the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project, which is currently in the process of being developed, and it's tracking very well. This is the largest commercial offshore wind project on the entire East Coast, right here in Virginia. And we're also not just going to have the largest project, we're going to have one of the most premier staging and loading ports, as well as a manufacturer right here in Portsmouth. So I think it's a neat, we find ourselves, in I think a real neat position here at the port and in the city to be recognized for a lot of exciting activity supporting the supply chain, and then what's going on in this new whole space of offshore wind. And I think, when you look at other ports, I think I don't like, I'm not going to criticize there are challenges anywhere, right? Anytime you're developing a product, it can be challenging, but what we're doing at PMT and no faces, little, issues here and there, nothing that to what you see at other development projects. If you were to go on and look at some of the projects going in the Northeast for just the terminal side of this whole equation, let alone the project side. So we're really positioned well. Dominion is really excited with the momentum. We should see the sub-sea piece, they're called monopile. This is the foundation that gets impacted into the seabed. Those should begin to show up at PMT in October, November of this year. It comes real then. I mean, and these are massive, size of this room type of diameter pieces of steel being brought in. So they'll be staged through the winter this next year and then sent out to the ocean to be installed on May 1 of 2024 when that installation begins for the CVOW project. So, again, very exciting. The team I was in Portsmouth is engaged often, daily, hourly, across departments with all of this exciting activity. I'd say the partnership between the port and Portsmouth is stronger today than ever. And so we're thankful for that partnership and excited for what these months and years have to come. So I'll leave it at that. I think you can tell I'm excited. I think we're all excited for the opportunity that we're going to experience here in our community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any comments, questions? Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
On to the next item of business, the Port Host Community Revitalization Fund Program update. Mr. Donahue?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wanted to follow up with the board just to update you on the status of the program. I believe Ms. Phillips shared with you our current financial position, but just want to revisit that very quickly. Excuse me, to show what we have paid out on those first two grant awards through the Port Host Community Revitalization Fund Program. Our FY20 grant, which was for the former Coach Gentrix facility at 1 Wild Duck Lane, we have closed that out. You can see they came in substantially under what their award amount was. Again, this is a reimbursement-based program at the end of the day. So these grant funds are tied to their actual expenditures. They were able to receive some compensation for salvage materials that were related to the demolition of the actual coal power plant. So some of that scrap material was able to be sold. So obviously they weren't able to get credit for that. And that's the reason why they did come under the award amount. But the good thing is those monies go back to the program, so they get recycled, and we have the ability to compete again for those in the next round. Your FY21 grant at 3599 Progress Avenue, the former BASF chemical plant site. We have dispersed those funds. $379,701.19 was provided to the developer of that project to clear and remove the old manufacturing plant and the facilities there to prepare it for redevelopment. So that has been closed out as well. Your FY22 grant for 3301 Shipwright Street, International Flooring and Protective Coatings is the operator and owner of that facility. They're in the process of finalizing their plans for rebuilding the bulkhead at that site along the waterfront, which is major improvement for that property that will put it as a front runner for offshore wind related opportunities, in addition to the maritime ship repair and fabrication industry. So that is currently underway. We would anticipate them to complete that by fall of this year. And then the FY23 grant is still pending with the state. That was submitted back in the fall. We would expect to hear on that sometime in the next 60 days.
Okay.
Certainly able to expand on any of that, provide additional detail if you have.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Karen,
Oh, I'm sorry.
when is the grant period for this year open? Or I guess next year?
So the grant, that's a great question. Typically that would open in, traditionally in January. We are still waiting on the guidelines, for what would be FY24 program year to come out from the state. So really probably any day now. That application is available on our website. We will update it if there are any changes to the state's guidelines, but as soon as they come out, we'll repost that and ensure that we're marketing the program to seek projects and applications for the fund. And we'll certainly advise you at your next meeting when that occurs.
Anyone else? Okay. Annual statement of economic interest.
Yes, Chair. This is really a friendly reminder that your annual statement of economic interest is due February 1st. This is a financial disclosure. It is a state requirement. That is due back to the city clerk no later than February 1. That does need to be hand delivered. We can assist you with that. If you have any issues getting it there, you can feel free to drop that off here and we'll deliver that on your behalf. I will note there is a penalty if you miss that deadline. I believe it's $250. You don't want to miss the deadline there. But please let me know if you have any questions. You should have received that email from Ms. White. If you need that document to complete it, we can certainly assist with that as well.
Thank you. New business.
Chair, we do not have any new business, but I do believe we have a need for a closed meeting.
Okay. Here's the. Okay.
I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711 8.3 for the purpose of discussing the disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding the disposition of 3920 and 3930 for Burton's Point Road and brokerage services.
Do you have a motion and a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner,
Yes.
and Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Chair, the item is passed by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. You're now in closed session.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
There's a motion. May I have a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner,
Yes.
and Ms. Allen.
Yes,
Chair, the item passes. We are now in open.
thank you. Next on the agenda, items submitted by commissioners. I have none. Report backs.
I just have one update, and I don't see the individual in the room. I don't think she's made it back yet, but I just want to update you on some staffing changes that we've had recently, and other activity that is underway. We do have a new team member, which is Cherie Dozier. She is our new admin coordinator for our office and is assisting with running the day-to-day here in economic development. She has been with the city for a number of years on and off, and really excited to have her as a new team member, bringing her expertise to the department. You will note going forward, a lot of the communications will be coming directly from her, and certainly if you have any needs, you can also feel free to reach out to her in addition to myself going forward in the future. We are also in the process of hiring for the Portsmouth at Work office, our workforce development manager. We are currently recruiting for that position. So hope to have here in the next month or so some updates on that as well as we go through the hiring process there. Our office is working heavily to staff up over the next 2 quarters. So my goal is to have a full team here in economic development by the second quarter of the year, so that we can continue the progress that we've made over the last several years going forward. So a lot of some exciting opportunities on the horizon. I would like to thank the commissioners who were able to join us for some of the casino events that have occurred over the last week. We had the official ribbon cutting and grand opening yesterday for Rivers Casino, and the doors are now open. So lots of activity happening throughout the city, and certainly a lot of excitement related to the casino. So I think it's something we can celebrate together as a big win for the city. Definitely something that will drive a lot of additional growth here soon. So, Chair, those are the only comments I had to share.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, or comments? Hearing none, we've completed our agenda and we are adjourned.